We're heading deep underground in today's review as ancient caverns and magical creatures are unearthed in Colossal Cave. Hello and welcome to Yak Wax Lips. My name is Michael, your point and click adventurer, and today I'm exploring Colossal Cave from Cygnus Entertainment, most notable as the first game from Sierra founders Ken and Roberta Williams in 25 years. Before I spelunk on through, if it's your first time here, I create purely adventure game content, so if you love to point and click, please do so over the like, hit subscribe for more, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my adventure game videos. Entering the gaming world once more after 25 years, Ken and Roberta's Colossal Cave comes heavy with both expectation and nostalgia, even adding to the anticipation by tagging the game as reimagined by Roberta Williams. Roberta wrote some of the biggest hits in adventure gaming in the 80s and 90s, including the King's Quest series and Phantasmagoria. Always one for pushing boundaries, Ken and Roberta were the pioneers of the genre. So first, welcome back. Colossal Cave was originally released in the mid-1970s as a text adventure. In fact, it's the first game that Roberta ever played, and this updated version is faithful to the source material. We start out in a quaint opening in front of a small brick hut with a stream to the side. A voiceover tells us exactly what we see.
You are standing at the end of a road before a small brick building. Around you is a forest. A small stream flows out of the building and down a gully.
These words spoken are lifted directly from the original text adventure, and throughout our adventure here, we're accompanied by this narrator. There's nothing more to it as an intro, and we're left wondering what the objective is. After picking up a few items such as a lamp and keys, we find ourselves finally entering the caves. The objective we finally discover is to treasure hunt, grab as much as we can and get out. Although this is a brand new game released in 2023, it plays like an adventure game of old, for better or for worse. Although the medium has been updated from text to graphics, it's literally the same game from the 1970s. The obvious change, apart from the graphics, is the controls. You now walk through the caves using the mouse or keys on the PC, with a hand or eyes lighting up in the middle of the screen if there's anything to interact with. The game gives you the option to start the game with the keys and mouse or just the mouse. I opted for the keys and mouse. As an update graphically, it's middling, with restraint used due to the fact it has been created not just for PC, but for VR and mobile too, so the initial planned realism has made way for so-so visuals, in today's standards anyway. The dark caves twist and turn, opening up into several vibrant locations with names such as Bed Quilt and the Swiss Cheese Room, all again lifted directly from the original. It's this determination to stick so close to the source material that both helps and hinders the game. Game design in the 1970s often left you frustrated at dead ends and with random events halting your progress, and this has been carried forward through to this update. Some cave entrances simply divert you back on yourself to the same room, but on occasion the same entrance takes you to a separate location, all depending on chance. At one point, it took me going through the same tunnel over 20 times to get through to a section. The foes, in the guise of dwarves, also pop up on occasion throughout randomly without giving us the opportunity to attack first. They then throw a knife and sometimes it misses and we get to retaliate, but sometimes it hits us and that's it, game over. It does feel a little unjust. My main gripe with the game though, it took me a while to actually figure out, what do I actually do? This feeling did ebb away though the deeper I entered the caves and it became clear that I was essentially a treasure hunter. It felt unforgiving, just wandering the caves collecting items at random to do nothing. It wasn't till a good few hours in that I discovered I could take my treasure out of the caves and store them, and this added to my score. The same scoring system from, yep, you guessed it, the original. As the game progressed and the labyrinth of caves increased, however, the more I became engrossed. It was a missed opportunity to add in the ability to explore the caves on a more deeper level, as only a small handful of items are able to be looked at or interacted with. There were so many random objects dotted around all the different caves, it would have been nice to look at or at least acknowledge them in some way, but it's all just window dressing. But on the flip side of that, as a fairly short family game, the restraints it gave me started to add to my enjoyment of it. And that's, I feel, where the enjoyment may come from. At its heart, it's a fun and fleeting family adventure. Magical creatures we meet, such as a troll, a pirate, some dwarves, yes, there are 7 of them, and even a dragon, they're not threatening in the slightest. They are comical and they are fun. As an adventure game, the majority of the puzzles are fairly straightforward, but there are 1 or 2 where it left me scratching my head, mainly because, yep, it's based on a 1970s game where logic wasn't the first port of call. A major plus that the original did well, and I think is done great here, is the ability to only carry a small selection of items. If your inventory is full, you can just drop something and pick something else up, but you will need to use some items in certain places, so if you've left it 7 caves ago, you have to trek back and go and get it. Yes, it can get a bit repetitive as you're heading back through several caves to find your dropped item, but it did make me think twice before randomly dropping or even picking something up. There is strategy in this madness. I applaud the main update to this 2023 version of Colossal Cave, as we no longer require a notebook and pen to scribble down notes and rooms, as a map has been added. As the game opens up, piece by piece the map grows, and not only that, but it shows you which tunnels go where, with the added plus that it also includes the location of where you've dropped those much needed items. Without this, it would be a lot more difficult. There is an option at the start of the game to not use the map if you are one to play on a harder mode. Beware though, if you decide to start a new game without the map, it asks if you want to override the map traces from previous games. I had loads of save points, so thought nothing of it and wiped the map when I started a new game, only for it to then wipe the map progress from all of my save games. Essentially meaning you only really have one game on the go at a time. But talking of save points, long-time watchers will know I love to save every 5 minutes or so, and I'm happy to say there are loads of save slots available. Sierra Games were notorious for killing you at every available opportunity, and I went into Colossal Cave expecting this, but I only died a handful of times, and a lot of that was trying things I knew were going to kill me, such as diving off a cliff. However, the mantra of save often still remains, as once you do die, you either end the game there and then, or you have the option to be taken back to the cabin at the start to resume your game, losing a few points as punishment and leaving you with your inventory and your map, but a long way from where you died. If you get stuck, the game will offer you a hint, which would cost you a few points, but the hints given are pretty generic and fairly unhelpful, and these only appear on occasion too. Moving on to the sound and the music, it's both used fairly sparingly. The caves drip with moisture, rivers and waterfalls roar, and footsteps slap the echoing chambers, but essentially we're left alone in the depth. Short sections of music blare out at random events, but they disappear just as quickly as it arrives. The faithfulness to the original on one hand is a great touch, and fans of the genre will find plenty to love, but on the other, it never lets the game become what it could be, shackling it with limitations. There's enough here to both charm and bewilder in equal measures. The question lies where it fits in today's gaming landscape. It's certainly unique, and Cygnus Entertainment is essentially releasing a 1970s game in 2023's clothing. If Ken and Roberta decide to continue making games again, I'd be keen to see what original material comes next, as Roberta was such a powerhouse with ideas in the 80s and 90s. Colossal Cave is a fun family-based adventure game that will put a smile on your face, but sometimes a frown too. Colossal Cave is now available on PC, Switch, PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. A VR version will be out on the Oculus 2 very soon too. Thank you very much to Cygnus Entertainment for the review copy of the game, and thank you to you for watching. Become a point-and-click adventurer yourself by joining my Patreon, and until next time, you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening, whatever it is you are doing right now, and take care.